To commence with the great name of Allah, who is the most merciful and the most kindest. This is Farishta Alizadeh, computer teacher at Girls High School, Kabul branch. This is the second semester of 2021 academic year, and in this semester, I'm gonna teach C++ programming basics course for 10th grades. For understanding the basics of programming, we can use different languages like Java, like Python. And maybe you heard that Python is so easy. But I preferred to use C++ for teaching the basics or the fundamental of programming, because the rules and regulations, the syntax of C++ or coding in C++ is almost the same of most of other programming languages. That's why I prefer C++ language to teach you programming basics. During this semester, you will learn different things. You will learn how to make a smart program which can make decisions and show the results according to what you want, and you will understand how to make your own desired application by using C++ programming language. And so let's go to our lesson. Today is the first session of C++ programming basics, and let's have a look at the outline of today's lesson. The title of today's lesson is Introduction to C++ Programming, and under the title of Introduction to C++ Programming, we'll learn three things. The first thing that we are going to learn is what C++ is. The second thing is C++ programming paradigms or methods, or we can say patterns. And the third thing is understanding programming. Under the title of Understanding Programming, I will tell you some terms of programming or some terms which are mostly used in programming, and I will tell you the meaning of them. So let's go to the title, which says, what is C++? C++ is a middle-level programming language. Look, according to the level, we can say all the programming languages in the world are divided into three levels. Low-level programming language, middle-level programming languages, and high-level programming languages. Low-level programming languages, as you can hear and as its name implies, this is a programming language which deals with one and zeros. So coding in that language is so hard. The next one is middle-level programming like C++, which uses some keywords, or we can say some words in its programming or in its codes that they are too near to human language. And the next one is high-level programming language that, as its name implies, it is totally like human language. So coding in that language is gonna be too easy. C++ for the first time was invented by Bjorn Strostrap in 1979 in Bell Labs. C++ can run on a variety of platforms. By using the word of platforms, I mean different operating systems like Windows operating system, Mac operating system, and Unix operating system. C++ is a general purpose case-sensitive programming language. What does mean general purpose? Look, according to the purpose, once again, all the languages or all the programming languages are divided into two parts. The first one is general purpose, the second one is special purpose. General purpose programming languages are those programming languages that the domain of their usage is wider. It means we can use that programming language for making different applications. For example, by C++, we can make a text editor. We can make another operating system. We can make a game. So the usage of this programming language is wide. And special purpose programming languages are those languages that the domain of their usage is too small, like HTML. Why? Because HTML is used only and only for making a web page. It doesn't have any other usage. And C++ is case sensitive. Case sensitive. So let me show you the exact meaning of case sensitive. Let me open the pen. Yeah. Case sensitive means that, for example, in C++, you make a variable whose data type is integer and whose name is number. Okay? This is a variable. What variable is? I will tell you just right now. You understand? This is a variable. Okay? And its name is what? The name of this variable is number. We make another variable. Integer number. Look, this is number and this is number. But according to C++, this number is totally different from this number. Why? Because this number is written with a small n or a small letter n, but this number is written by a capital letter of n. So according to the name, they are the same, but according to the case, this number is totally different from this number. This is the meaning of what? Case sensitive. Let me bring more examples. For example, integer number, and the next one like integer number. Look, according to the number or the name of number, they all are the same, but according to the case, they are different. So, according to the rule of C++, we have four variables with the name of number, but with different cases. This is the meaning of what? Case sensitive. And then C++ supports procedural and object-oriented paradigms. Look, paradigm means pattern, means way of what, or pattern of what? Pattern of programming. What procedural is, what object-oriented is, I will tell you in our next slides that we are going to study today. Just right now, in this slide, you have to understand that C++ supports procedural and object-oriented paradigms for programming, okay? The next one. C++ is the enhanced form of C. Look, let me tell you the history of C. In the history of C++, I have to tell you, before C++ was invented, we had a programming language whose name was C. But this programming language was so basic. So programmers brought some more changes. They added more classes to this C. And finally, they made a new version of C. And they named that new version of C programming language what? C with classes. So the name of new version of C was C with classes. But then, once again, programmers brought more changes to the C with classes programming language, and finally they made C++. So C++ is the enhanced form of what? C. As I told you before, we have two paradigms of programming. The first one is procedural programming, and the second one is object-oriented programming. What procedural is, what object-oriented is, I will tell you. Procedural programming. Look, procedural programming can be defined as a programming paradigm or pattern which is based upon the concept of calling a procedure. It means upon a concept which is called what? Procedure. And procedures also known as routines of functions. Look, let me bring an example for you until you understand better. Yes, suppose this is your source page. Okay, look, this is the page that you write all of your source code. It means you write, that you write all of your code. Suppose this is code, okay? For example, 1 line of code, 2 line of code, 3 lines of code, 4 lines of code, and okay, and finally, for example, let me write more. Yes, look, suppose this is your source code. This is your source code, and in your source code you have typed or you have coded lots of things. Because line by line you have coded, you didn't bring any code. Look, you didn't bring any code from yes, let me bring it here. Yeah, and you didn't bring any code from another place to here. Yes, sorry, my drawing is not okay. Yeah, you didn't bring any code from another source code in here. This is what this is. Look, you didn't bring. I'm telling you that you didn't bring. You did not bring any code from another source code, and you wrote everything from the first up to the end, line by line, in your source page or in your source code. This is what? Procedure. This is procedural way of programming. It means that you coded everything line by line by yourself. You didn't lend, or you didn't bring, you didn't borrow, or you didn't bring any code from another source code. This is what? Procedural. This is a way which is called what? Procedural. But this procedural programming paradigm has its own features. Look, the first feature about procedural programming is manipulation of code is hard. Look, right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. Yeah, suppose I have only 9 right now. In your example, you can see we have only 9 or 10 lines of code. But in real program, you're not going to have only 9 or 10 or 12 lines of code. No, maybe you will have more than 1,000 lines of code. So managing of that is so easy. Okay, look, according to what it is written in here, manipulation of that is so hard. Why manipulation is so hard? Because you can't easily find a code to delete that, or to update that, or to insert another code in there. Okay, that's why manipulation is so hard. In programming, for inserting, for deleting, and for updating, we call what? Manipulation. Updating means editing, means for bringing changes. Okay, these three actions are so hard in procedural way of programming. And the second feature, code lines are too many. As you can see, and as I told you before, we will have more than 1,000 lines of codes. So this is not a good point. This is a negative point, okay? And we have languages which support procedural programming. PP means procedural programming. There are some programming languages that they support this way of programming, like Fortran, like COBOL. Sorry, it's not COBOL, it's COBOL. I forgot to write to type L. It's my bad. Sorry. And also Algol, Basic, Pascal, and C. These programming languages support the procedural programming paradigm. Now, object-oriented programming paradigm. In object-oriented programming, let me first tell you this one. Object-oriented programming can be defined as a programming model which is based upon the concept of objects. Look, this paradigm works upon the concept or based upon the concept of objects. In the world, everything. Look, in the world, everything which has properties and which has a property and which does an action is called what? Is called object. So everything which has property and which has which does an action is called an object. In programming, the object-oriented paradigm was invented upon the concept of objects. It means what? It means that you have your source code. Look, this is your source code, okay? Let me write in here. Source code. Look, this is your source code. You're not going to write lots of things like procedural programming in one page. No way. You write some of code in your source page, okay? Then you have some other pages as well. It means there are some other source pages as well. Let me source page. Code, and in here we have another source code, and then here we have another source code, and there are written something. For example, in here we have some code in here. Sorry for writing this kind of text. It's just example. Look, in object-oriented, this is your program and this is your program, or this is your source code. You're not gonna write everything by yourself. No, it's not this way. You just do what? You write some codes by yourself. You bring some, or you lend some codes of your program from another web page. You bring some codes of your program from another source code, and you bring some codes from another source code. Okay? When you lend some codes from other source pages and link them to your source code, and in your source code you have some properties, look, and you have some functions, and even in your function, for example, in your function, you lend some code from other places. This is called what? This is called object-oriented. Why? Because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 objects. And in our main object, we borrow some properties, some functions or some methods from other objects. This is called what? Object-oriented. What's the goodness of this? The goodness or the advantage of this way of programming is that you are not going to write everything by yourself. You can borrow some codes from other places, from other libraries, from other source codes. Okay, this is what? This is object-oriented. Object-oriented programming paradigm has some features too. First, it has some properties, as I told you in our before, and it has some methods or functions. Method or function means that it can do something. It can do some actions. Okay, and languages which support OOP or object-oriented programming paradigm, they are a lot, like Java, like C++, like Python, like PHP, like JavaScript, and etc. Okay. Now, understanding the programming. Look, in understanding the programming, I'm gonna tell you some concepts or some terms which are mostly used in programming. Like what? First, like programming. What is programming? Instructing computer to perform tasks for you with the help of a programming language is called what? Programming. Second, what is programmers? Programmers are people who make computer programs, and they're called what? Programmers. And end users. Look, right now I'm using a PowerPoint program, so I'm end user. Why? Because I didn't code that application, but I'm using that. So people who use the program are called what? End users. Program or software. What is software or program? A computer program or software contains a sequence of instructions for a computer. Look, a software is a bunch of instructions which is used, a bunch of or a sequence of instructions for a computer. It means those bunch of that bunch of instructions are used to instruct the computer, to command the computer to do what? Always, all the softwares are divided into 3 parts, which is input, process, and output. What's input? Input part gets the data from an input device, like what? Like keyboard, like microphone. And process, it carries out the algorithm and finds out the desired result. It means that in process, the software does all the calculations, all the arithmetic or logical comparisons, and then it makes ready the results, and yes, it makes ready the result. And output. By output, the result which was made ready in process is going to be shown to the end user. Okay, this was the 3 parts of a software, and once again I'm telling you, input, process, and output. These are the 3 parts of a software. Algorithm. Look, the next thing which is so important in the terms of or among terms of programming is algorithm. Computer programmers need to know how to put the instructions in a logical order, and this logical order is called algorithm. Look, algorithm is the logical order that programmers have to put their instructions into that, okay? Or simply we can say this step-by-step solution is called algorithm. It means step-by-step solution of a problem is called what? Algorithm. Here's an example. For example, you have a problem. That problem is make a cup of tea. So the instruction for making a cup of tea is first let heat the water until it begins boiling. Second, pour the hot water in a cup. Third, then add tea pack, and finally you can drink it. It means finally you made a cup of tea. Another example. For example, how to take money from Etm Machine. This is a problem. This is a problem that you have, and you have to make a step-by-step solution for that. First, insert the card. Second, insert the password. Third, select the instruction language. Fourth, insert the amount of demanded money. Fifth, confirm. And sixth, finally, you can get the money. This is what? This is a step-by-step solution of a problem. A step-by-step solution of which problem? Problem of taking money from Etm Machine. Or this step-by-step solution is called what? Algorithm. Algorithm of what? Algorithm of taking money from Etm Machine. So algorithm is what? A step-by-step solution of a problem is called algorithm. And now we are at the end of our first session. And if you have any question, you can ask me via your WhatsApp groups. And before you ask me your question, introduce yourself to me. First, you tell me your name, your class, and finally, you ask your question. I'm there to answer you. Thank you a lot. I hope you could learn all the terms. Sorry for this session, which was a little bit longer. And have a good day.